Welcome to the Central Pennsylvania Real Estate Investors Meetup podcast, keeping you up to date with what is happening in the York, Lancaster, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania real estate markets.
Welcome to the Central Pennsylvania Real Estate Investors Meetup podcast. My name is Chad Eisenhart. I go to the local real estate meetups in York, Lancaster, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and rebroadcast the meetup in their entirety. Whether you're a new investor looking to get started or own 100 doors, meetups are a great place to connect with other like-minded individuals, including buying and selling your deals, and staying up to date with what's new in your local market. I'm a buy and hold investor focused on single-family, multifamily, and self-storage in York, PA, and can be found at chadbuys.com. This week, I'm at the Real Estate Investing Mastermind group of Lancaster, hosted by Chuck Sierk. This evening's speaker is Josh with the Lone Ranger and Michelle Patterson with Credit Lab. Josh discusses options for funding your deals, including the differences of private money versus hard money, when private lending works best, which is the best deal when looking strictly at cost, risk versus reward, the 5 C's of credit, what do lenders look at when determining the creditworthiness of the borrower. Michelle's discussion focuses on building your credit for your business, including why you want to work to build your business credit, the primary players in business credit scoring, how you can get started to improve your business credit, and making sure you get started on a solid foundation and steps to follow. And now on to this week's episode.
We ready to go? I know it's a real popular section right over there, right by the kegerator. Thanks to Slate House Group and the Hive for providing refreshments. I heard somebody say when I first walked in saying, wow, you guys really throw a party. So pass the word, right? We'd like to have more people come out each and every month. So this is the Real Estate Investing Mastermind group of Lancaster. So if you're here to learn about real estate, you're in the right spot. So welcome. Just a couple ground rules. Johnny T, you got your cell phone on silent? It's not ringing. Okay, good. All right, please mute your cell phones so that way we don't disturb our wonderful speakers. We've got 3 of them lined up tonight. Second one, 3 speakers. Yeah. So respect the facility rules. Otherwise I'm going to have to sick Chad on you. So let's leave the room in as good as or better condition than the way we found it. And the other ground rule is if you've got questions, don't be shy. This is not the place to keep your questions to yourself. And most importantly, I think we've been doing a good job of that so far, is networking. That's the core basis of everything that we do in the meetup, is get out here with other investors, meet people, because real estate is all about relationships. So a little bit about me. Been investing in real estate since 2002. I got my real estate license in 2018. My beautiful wife Janet here is your Lancaster real estate agent, and we're both with EXP Realty. We're passionate about helping others achieve their dreams through real estate investing. And I'm primarily a buy and sell investor. Holding properties is definitely in our business plan for this year. We have a residential redevelopment company called Sierk, and REIMG is not here to give you legal professional advice. There are some professionals here in the room that can help you. If you need contacts for one, we're real good at connecting people to who you need to meet, so don't hesitate to come and find us afterwards. We're not representing you in any way just by you coming here, and we're not here to take your money. Tonight is completely free, and we're not a place to come and go without getting out of your comfort zone. Again, it's very important that you meet somebody new before you leave here tonight. Can everybody promise me that they will meet somebody new if they haven't already? Okay, very good. And we're not responsible for your actions, because the one thing that will make you or break you in this business called real estate investing is you. So you're doing the right thing by being here to learn more, hone your skills, understand what opportunities are out there. Specifically, we're going to talk a lot about funding tonight. We're going to talk about private lending. We're going to talk about maybe some means for funding that you weren't aware of. And we're also going to talk about how building business credit can really help you and your business to achieve things that without it may not otherwise be possible. So we've got 3 different speakers tonight. They're all going to talk about different types of ways to finance your business and to finance deals. Show of hands, how many people here have used hard money lenders to do deals? All right, good number. How many people have used private lenders? How many people see them as one and the same? Interesting. So we have a gentleman from a local lending group, private lending, one way to look at it, called the Lone Ranger. Has anybody used the Lone Ranger to finance deals before? Right? Okay. So we have Mr. Joshua Druce here from the Lone Ranger. He's going to go into the details of what it takes to be able to get a loan and how to approach private lending as a borrower. So let's put our hands together for Mr. Joshua Druce.
I get a microphone.
Yes, you do.
Thank you very much.
Put that in your pocket. Put that right by the second button.
All right, what's going on, guys? I'm Josh. Yeah, good to meet you. I'm going to give you a brief overview on private lending. You know, as Chuck had said, if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in and we'll address them. Before we get started, I guess a little bit about who I am. I am a banker by training. I spent about 10 years in commercial banking before making the jump to private. I don't know if there's a universal definition between the difference between hard money and private. I prefer the term private because hard money has a connotation that there's people out there breaking legs or putting people in loans that they know they can't work because they're trying to get at the properties. That's really not how we do business. It's not universally accepted as a term, but I don't know, private just sounds better to me. So in addition to a banker, I'm also a husband. I'm also a dog petter. So if you guys have any dogs, let me know. And I'm not a graphic designer, so my slides are going to be very boring. What I'm here to talk about tonight, what private lending is, how we underwrite a deal, and how to get a deal financed if you're approaching somebody or you have a situation a bank can't cover. So what private lending is, first of all, I guess to describe what it isn't. It's not a bank finance deal. Banks are very risk adverse. So the average margin on a bank deal is 1%. So if a bank does 100 deals that are exactly the same size and risk, and they lose on 1, they break even. 2, they've lost money. I think about how many things in my life I'm confident about. There are very few things that I'm 99% certain of. So if you ever run across a situation where it seems the bank is not interested and it doesn't make sense to you, maybe they're only 97% confident and they're not 99. Banks are also very efficient. This is the actual chart of how a Fannie Mae, this is actually abbreviated, it's kind of a summary, but this is how investors understand how Fannie Mae loans go from investor money to funding and then go through repayment. It's very much like a manufacturing. They're not designed to create a custom product. They're designed to create something that fits in a box or runs off a machine. And I don't know if you guys are, I think some of you are as old as me here. Custom products can be very expensive. You get what you pay for, though. So what private lenders are, the term's very broad. Sometimes it's real estate investors. Sometimes it's people that are taking equity ownership, are comfortable taking equity ownership, and in one deal they'll partner with somebody else to put some cash to work. Sometimes it's large international hedge funds. Here in Lancaster, that's not been my experience. Sometimes it's family and friends. I know a lot of very established investors in this community that got started with a loan from a grandfather or a church or whomever else. Broadly speaking, it's really anyone with money to invest and a risk tolerance and time horizon that matches a deal. I'll come back to that last part a little bit. So when private lending works, at least our real specialty is rehabbing construction loans and bridge loans. If you have a large commercial deal that may take 3 months to put together, we could put it together and get it closed in 10 days. And rehabbing construction, I think, speaks for itself. When bank loans work, we're not the cheapest option. So if you have a stabilized financial buyer that's looking to hold a property for the long term and is low risk, go to the bank. They're the appropriate tool for the job. One way I like to think about it is renting a car versus leasing a car. It's much cheaper to lease a car. If you were to go to Enterprise and you were to rent a car and you were to hold it for a year, you'd pay the car off multiple times just in that first year. But if you get on a plane, you get off in Chicago, and you need a car that day, and you only need it for 2 days, there's no reason to go through the credit check and the lease process and then pay off the loan. It's the right tool for the right job. Private lending is the equivalent of renting money. Bank money is the equivalent of leasing. So debt holder versus equity. Lenders don't get any upside. If you borrow $110,000 for a property that's worth $150,000 and you go and sell it for $200,000, in 10 years of doing this job, I've never had somebody come to me as their banker and said, I did great, here's some extra money. Lenders get paid first, so we take less risk. Lenders have limited upside. Owners have greater risk, but also greater potential return. I guess structuring any investment or any deal between partners, you have to make sure that their risk tolerance is lined up. I want to sleep well at night. I don't want to go like Chad and send somebody out to plug or unplug toilets or whatever else. We want to make sure that our money is very carefully protected. Unlike the banks, we don't require that we're at 99%, and I would not like to reveal my margins here in front of all you nice people. But even at, let's say it's 10%, if we're 90% confident, that's a nice place to be. How we underwrite a deal. So in banking, there's a term of 5 C's of credit. The 5 C's are character. We don't lend money to people that are scumbags or lie to us. You wouldn't lend your car to somebody you don't trust. For the most part, we don't do that. Capacity. We don't like to over-leverage a property. We need to make sure that a borrower has the capacity to pay us back, whether that's through cash flow or through eventual sale. Collateral. We spend a lot of time making sure that the valuation is there for a property that we're looking at. Capital. It strengthens a deal if our borrower has resources. So if you have cash on the sidelines that could pay interest, we're more comfortable than if you obviously can't. And then conditions. Conditions are the terms of the loan. So we try to structure the loan to make sure that it suits everybody's interests. So I'll give you an example of a typical deal. Let's say Chuck here buys a property for $100,000. And I would like you to know that this is an example I see in the real world. It's not one for Chuck. His margins are way fatter. He estimates that he'll do $40,000 worth of rehab, and he estimates he'll sell it for $170,000. In this scenario, we would consider Chuck's experience. If it's his first project, we're a lot less willing to jump in than if it's his 100th. His construction estimates. Does $40,000 make sense for what he's trying to do? Has he over or underestimated? Is he making things up? Again, that feeds back to his experience. Verify his ARV. Can he really sell it for $170, or is he making that up to make that margin look even bigger than it actually is? And is there a margin of safety? Is there something where if it goes wrong, I can still sleep at night? So the total cost is $140,000. In this scenario, a typical position for us would be to lend $110,000 and then have the buyer come up with an additional $30,000. These are pretty exact numbers. I didn't have an exact deal in mind, but it's very typical for what I see. So let's say the project finishes on budget and on time because Chuck's a great operator. After 6 months, the loan is repaid. The property sells for $170,000 because he nailed that valuation. The lender, us, we would collect $110,000, which was the balance owed, and then the additional interest on it. And then the remainder would go to Chuck, the extra $60,000. 30 of that was his money to begin with. And he gets paid.
My favorite slide of the night.
I know. I could watch that all day.
Yes.
So how to pitch?
Watch it all day.
That's his new screensaver. Are screensavers still a thing? I don't even know. So how to pitch a deal. My favorite customers don't ask me to do the work for them. They come to me with a structure in place. They come to me with comps. They come to me with estimates. They're not making me put it together for them. Make sure it works for everyone. A lot of times there's good deals out there that just aren't a good fit for us. As I mentioned, it has to match risk and tolerance. If it doesn't work for everybody, there's no reason to get into it. There's also a lot of other lenders and investors out there. If private money isn't the way to go, there's always people out there looking to partner on specific projects. One of the problems that we have is money on the sidelines. A lot of times, especially if you're pitching their first deal, customers treat it as if we're doing them a favor, but there's a lot of people with money to invest, and they need people like you to put it to work. And I keep coming back to this, but I don't think I can overstate this. Make sure that your time horizon and risk tolerance match. And that's my brief summary. Yeah, Chuck.
Before you go, so when you talk about verifying the ARV and those type of things, do you physically go out to the property and walk the property? Do you when you're underwriting, how boots on the ground are you versus sitting behind a keyboard?
Yeah, so it really depends on the project, and there's a difference between me speaking personally and then the industry as a whole. There are private lenders out there that will do nothing but pull up some comps on Zillow. If it's in Lancaster City, you tell me the square footage and the block, I have some idea of what the ARV should be. Sometimes I'll go check out properties just because I'm in Lancaster all the time. It's very easy to. But if it's a straightforward deal, I'm very comfortable pulling comps from MLS. And especially if it's a customer I have some history with. If it's bigger and more complicated, absolutely get on site and go through. I'm not a construction expert. I'm not a maintenance expert, but there's a lot of things that people miss just by seeing numbers on a spreadsheet. That was something for me also very early on that helped me, because it's very easy to fall in love with a model. It's very different to actually see it in person and have something tangible.
So I've done a little bit of product lending where I was the lender, and I found the toughest thing for me was figuring out how to create a cadence with the investor. I felt like, I don't know, I just kind of like knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
And I found the investor didn't really like telling me what's going on. And it led to this weird thing where the less I knew, the more freaked out I was. How do you do that? What's your, what way do you see that happen too? And B, like, how do you manage that with your clients?
I have experiences on both sides. Where Lancaster is a very small market, I will have conversations with a customer. They'll tell me everything's fine. I'll hear from his contractor later that he walked off because they had a disagreement. I hate that. So generally, if you're not sure where the exact line is, it's better to stay informed than not. Yeah. We design these, though, that we have a margin of safety. So at least the way we structure deals, all of my investors and partners have their own real estate portfolios. And so we won't lend at an amount where we're not comfortable coming in and stepping in. The construction draws themselves vary on projects. For me, it's largely relationship, where if a customer's been honest and successful before, I don't go out and match invoices with actual work. On the other hand, I have some customers that are very nervous themselves, and they'll call me with weekly updates. And sometimes the update's nothing. I'm going, hey man, I have a lot to do. You're doing great, but I'm going to keep moving on. So part of it, I guess, comes with experience. Yeah, there's a sweet spot like anything else.
Just a quick tip, an easy way that could maybe update your lender at the point where they can consume your update at their leisure, right? We all carry 4K video cameras in our pockets, right? With the latest smartphones. Do a walkthrough. Show the good, show the bad, show this is where this just a couple minute video, shooting that together, upload it to YouTube, have it unlisted, send them a link, say here's my update. And then that way you can consume it at your leisure.
Yeah.
It's something that basically, a moving picture is worth a million words, right?
Or if it's not video, even pictures.
Yeah.
And I would say the best way for me personally is a customer that, and it depends on the project, it depends how involved it is. Some I monitor weekly, some I monitor monthly, some I only check draws. But whatever that periodic is, I think a good rule of thumb would be for most projects, have benchmarks that are around a quarter of completion or third completion. Take a bunch of pictures, email them to me, let me know what's happening, and keep me in the loop. Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that happens a lot because guys work from rehabs. If they don't have a relationship with their lenders, most of the time that happens is because you don't want to scare the lender. And you say, oh, he's not going to lend to me again because we're going to bump, right? And that happens. We have a house, there's always a surprise, there's always something that happens.
Yeah.
I'm sure the lending side understands that also.
Yeah.
As long as you look at the time frame, you're good to go.
Yeah. I mean, if you do anything, in statistics, there's type 1 errors versus type 2 errors. And if we've never run into a single problem, it means we're probably leaving money on the table because we've been too conservative. So I certainly don't want to put that out there. I don't want people coming to me with bad deals saying, come on, man, you haven't had a loss in a while. Fortunately, we knowingly take on more risk. My portfolio now is cleaner than it was in commercial banking. I have fewer lates, I have fewer defaults. We've historically had fewer losses.
It's also been a good market the last 5
Yeah, I can't take credit for that. It's been good. We'll see how things are in the next 5 years. But with that said, things have been very good. It's been very easy. It's been a good time. Yeah.
And you see as more money lenders are coming out there, the rates will be dropping?
Yeah, that's something we spend a lot of time talking about internally. My average, most of my deals I pitch now are about 12%. There are very scientific reasons for that. There's also 12 months in a year, so if somebody asks me their interest payment, it's 1%. I just have to move the decimal twice, even I can do that in my head. So there's a benefit to keeping things easy. In some markets, the private lending interest rates are driven by alternative investments in the broader market. So when the stock market gets very volatile, maybe your grandmother goes, hey, I don't know what the privacy regulations in Europe are going to do to my Facebook stock. What I would like is to have a piece of collateral that I can drive by. And I can see an apartment building, I can go, it's full, I'm doing okay. I do not have to follow European privacy regulations. So in those cases, the lending rates we see are higher, but tied to everything else. In other markets, what we're seeing is that they're tied to cap rates. And so people are making the decision between I could invest at 10% and take on more risk and more of the responsibility, or I could make a loan at 8%. And so they take a slight discount from the cap rate. They put usually more money at work because it's their money's not levered. And yeah, I don't know if that answered your question or kind of went around it.
One other one is, what are the typical fees that one would expect?
Whether
you're a first timer,
it's
for the third, fourth, or fifth property?
Yeah, it spans across. My standard fee is about 2%. I know other people in the market that are, 3 and even higher. Of course, there are other people that discount. The upfront fee has a lot to do with the project too. If you have a stabilized property where there's less risk, usually the fee's lower. Yeah.
Those fees include contract and loan origination and all that stuff too, or is there besides?
Yeah, so my 2% fee is inclusive of loan docs, everything else we could. It doesn't cover closing costs, but any of the lender fees, there's nothing else. I can't speak to everybody on that. Yeah.
Do you expect payments every month or at the end of those 6 months?
That's also negotiable. One of the things we do is give a 6-month head start. So interest still accrues, and we collect it at payoff for a rehab or construction loan. Most of the deals we see, our average loan term is 9 months. Most of the deals we see have a construction period of about 6 or 7 months. So it serves as a good check-in for us to say, hey, your interest payments are going to start, get motivated and get through it. Yeah. If it's stabilized, if it's rented, if it's income-producing property, interest starts immediately.
Any other questions for Josh?
No. All right.
How long are you out? Just a year or?
Yeah, most of them are a year. Our average loan term is 9 months. We've done 2 and 3 deals, 3-year deals before, especially for certain projects.
So, as far as draws, would we need to send you a report of what we did and then request a draw, or?
Yeah, we span. We have some customers that are doing work themselves and are less sophisticated. We have other customers that are producing construction AIAs with specific benchmarks. One good practice and something really every project should have is make sure that their contractor or their subs have similar expectations as your funder for when benchmarks are. So whether that's 10% completion, 30%, whatever it is, that way we can make sure that our inspections and our funding lines up with when the contractor expects to get paid. So it's nice to have everybody on the same page before things start out. Anybody else? Should I go back to Chuck's video? Do you guys want to watch that? So that is my contact info. That's my cell phone. Feel free to call if you're shy or have any other questions or have a good deal. Now that you know how to pitch them, send them my way. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, let me grab that microphone. So that's a very standard way to be able to buy distressed property, rehab it, and either refinance it to hold it or put it on the market with your Lancaster real estate agent, and we'll list it and we'll sell it for you, right? Shameless plug there. So let's take a look at one way that we have an option. Janet and I, we're putting together a program, right? How many people want to win? Yeah, everybody wants to win. So we've developed a win-win program to help investors. So it's turnkey real estate. I mean, really, if you love rehabbing, you love going in and finding tenants to fill your units, this isn't going to be the program for you. If you like everything handed to you and said, here, would you like to collect this income check, right? Immediate passive income. This might be something to pay attention to. How about if you can already connect that to, I call short term. Maybe short term might be considered for a flip. It's going to be 4 months, right? 2 months, get it fixed, get it listed with your Lancaster real estate agent, and we'll get it sold for you. That's the second time I did that. But short-term, massive income, so For me, flipping houses is massive income. You get one mass chunk of income. It's not dripped over months and months for passive income. And you win by helping others get what they want, right? That's you standing on the podium, raising your arms. Woohoo! I won. Okay, so how does that work? So we have tenant buyers that have money and make a good income, but they can't get financed using a traditional loan in today's lending environment. And it could be for different reasons. So how does it work? They pick a house to buy. The investor, yes, after all the numbers have to work, right? But the investor buys the house, and the tenant buyer lease options the house to buy it inside of 1 to 5 years from the investor. Okay? So you being the investor, it's typically a conventional loan. Typical conventional loans are going to require 20% down. So the benefits to that, you're getting positive cash flow during the lease period. The option deposit helps to offset that down payment and the closing cost that you make to purchase that investment. You have a predetermined sales price based on historical appreciation for that micro market of where that house is located. And you're getting cash on cash returns, 10 to 20%. I'm saying that conservatively because many of the calculations I'm seeing go well above that, but I'm going to keep it in 10 to 20%. If 10 to 20% cash on cash returns work for you to not have to do much, if any, work, let's talk. So what if you leveraged the down payment? You know, you've got private lender at market rates, you know, anywhere from 10 to 12%. I know that Josh, based on, I mean, you'd have to buy it at a significant discount. Josh probably isn't going to be one to lend you the down payment on a house that you would fully leverage. But it makes it tougher to cash flow because at those interest rates, interest-only payments, 12% is, just like you said, move the decimal point. It can add a lot to your monthly, you know, you've got to crack a nut every month, right? You've got to cover your nut. And that makes that nut that much bigger to have to cover. So it needs to be truly private. Like you mentioned grandma or somebody's looking to put their money in. They're not going to underwrite super in detail, right? That's fine. They're getting a return on their money. They're happy with that. That would be a good situation. Now, if we look at what Paul was talking about, I should probably put that to 3 to 7%. That interest-only payment is significantly lower. So if you add that to your conventional loan payment and the lease numbers, you're still going to cash flow because it's not as big of a payment there. But you're going to get smaller cash flow, but it's virtually infinite returns because you get to leverage that appreciation. You're selling it for more at the end of the lease period than what you bought it for. And if you're not using any of your own money, who likes free money? Yeah, pretty much everybody likes free money. So just as an example, I'll breeze through this. If you buy a $250,000 house at 20% down, that means you've got to bring $50,000 to closing. So that principal interest is just under $1,300. Let's just say it's in an average Lancaster tax district. It's taxes and insurance around $400 a month. So your total is right around $1,700. So lease payment of $1,950. Well, the cool part about this is you don't have maintenance costs. You don't have to go in and fix the toilet if it gets stopped up because this is a lease option. This is somebody that's already purchased the option to buy the house. They're going to keep that house and live in it as their own. So you don't have utilities costs, even sewer, water, and trash. That's an additional rent payment that they need to pay. This is zero net to you on the expenses. You don't have vacancy costs because you don't buy the house until they're ready to move in. So the net monthly cash flow that goes into HIP National Bank is $260. Now you're getting an option deposit to offset some of that $50K of around, well, I just used an arbitrary number of $13,000 is in the range of what we're expecting for option deposits. So if you purchase at $250 and we use historical appreciation in this, they're in good neighborhoods, right, of 4%, you sell it in 2 years, that's $270,000. So your gain on equity then is $20,000. So 2 years later, you sell it to them and they purchase the option to buy it for $270 2 years down the road. You get 2 years of cash flow for a total of almost $7,000, and you get the equity gain of $20,000. Yes, you've got your closing costs. There's cost to factor into that, but your cash on cash return in that 10 to 20% range without having to deal with traditional tenant issues, right? They are responsible for maintenance costs up to roughly $1,500 each and every month. So you're not running to go fix things. It's going to be their house. They've agreed to fix it. So now let's see what happens if we did with the security-based lending for a down payment. Okay, so you leveraged your portfolio against that line of credit and you pulled out the $50,000. You've got your same conventional mortgage. You've got the loan at $50K. I think that example is at 4.5%, just to be fully transparent. So that interest-only payment on $50,000 is $188. So you add that, now your total is $1,878. So you don't have as much cash flow each and every month, right? But it's not cash out of your pocket that you've taken to do this deal. So you're getting a little bit of cash flow, and that's if, and I think the lease payment is conservative for some of the neighborhoods that these type of properties are going to be in. Again, you've got the same lease payment, you've got the same option deposit. Your cash on cash return, since you didn't take your own cash, you arbitraged the money that you borrowed against your securities, you're getting an infinite return once you add all of this together. So it's free money. How many people see that as a win? All day long.
Pretty much you get a good cash flow property without the headaches of rehabbing it, finding that and doing a lot of work and everything.
Right. You didn't have to find it. You didn't have to send one stupid yellow letter. Not a single postcard. You didn't have to leave an RVM message or text anybody saying, "Hey, I'll buy your house cash fast."
Preach.
Right? You came and talked to Chuck and said, "Hey, Chuck, I'm interested. This is what I'm looking to do. This is kind of, this sounds good. Give me a call. Let's talk." Yes, John.
Do you have a built-in lease increase the second year?
Yes.
Due to tax and insurance?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so in this particular example, the lease payment goes to $2,000. It goes up $50 for the next year. And all of that's into that 23, 28 number. I'm a degreed engineer, guys. I just couldn't bring myself to put just straight zeros across. I had to put the exact numbers because that's what it's supposed to be, right? Anyway, so show of hands, how many people would be interested in having a property and a cash flowing tenant handed to you in order to make an investment for a short period of time inside of 1 to 5 years? If you're looking to build your portfolio, it's not the ticket. You want, let me go back to this example, right? If you got the $50K sitting in the bank, $68.40, and the equity bump while you're off doing what you need to do, how many people would be interested in something like that?
Can't you not be?
All right. Let's talk. That's why we have time to network afterwards. Okay? The other cool thing. How many people are rehabbing or flipping houses? Right? Okay, so you're flipping some houses. Let's say that you got done with your project. He said, you know what, Chuck? I don't need the massive chunk of cash now. I want to get more down the road. Cool. We can help you win with that. You plug your property into, have your property be here, right? You refinance it out. You could probably pull some cash once you refinance it if you bought it smart and fixed it smart, right? You pull the cash out. It's kind of like a hybrid BRRRR, longer term flip. You own the property for longer. You don't get the super short-term pass-through income tax. You've held on to it longer, right? Your tax burden goes down. You get a premium for the property, and you get cash flow during those years. Sounds pretty cool, right? I mean, it's a win all the way around. We're helping people that need a house now. They've outgrown their situation, but for one reason or another, and they're vetted by pros. This is not just a Chuck doing the underwriting. We have mortgage loan officers doing the underwriting to get people in. We have professionals that are working with each of the clients. Mandatory, if credit's an issue, we're gonna fix it, right? This is not something that we just pat somebody on the butt and say, okay, we'll see you in 2 years, be ready to buy the house. No, we're going to have a team of professionals work with them to make sure that it's a good fit before we even show this opportunity to an investor. I don't like getting kicked in the face by an investor saying, you screwed me, Chuck. So we're going to do this the right way. We're going to do it on top of the table, and everybody's going to win. That's why it's called the win-win program. So come and see us afterwards, either myself or Janet. Okay? Cool. So you've got about 10 minutes. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, we'll go till around 9 o'clock. So Michelle's got a number of slides. Let's please put our hands together for the Michelle Patterson from Credit Lab.
Well, thank you.
Lady.
Are those speakers on? I don't know if they were powered on the front. This part.
There you go.
Janet, you might get blown away.
Let me see where.
Thanks everyone for coming and coming out to hear what I have to share regarding business credit. My name is Michelle Patterson. I'm the owner of Credit Lab in Lancaster City.
Speak up a little.
Okay, I will speak up. A little bit about me. So, that's my alter ego.
Michelle from Credit Lab, and I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you fight. Are you tired of paying high interest to the banks? Are you driving a hoopty but paying for a Mercedes? Well, I've got something for you.
So, it's what happens when your friend lives in LA and comes to visit, and she's a filmmaker. So I love the 70s, so we did a little Foxy Brown thing. But I consider myself the godmother of credit repair in Lancaster because I've been doing it for so long. And I've helped thousands of people throughout Pennsylvania overcome the financial and credit barriers that they've had to move forward with purchasing homes. Yeah, Chuck, would you just let me know that?
Yeah, just
Get my man voice on. All right, so Credit Lab was founded in 2004. I was actually my first client. So my background was financial planning. So in like 1996, 97, I had gotten into the industry. I had my securities licenses, life, accident, and health. I had a decent book of business. When 9/11 came about, and Angel had mentioned 9/11, things really took a downturn for me. My E&O tripled. So it was really hard for me to stay in that industry because I was a single mother, had a small child, a mortgage, car payment, bills. So my credit took a hit. And back then, we didn't have all of the modern tools that we have now, like Credit Karma and all these monitoring services. Credit scores were not really a thing back then. It was really more about data. I was a homeowner, so I figured, I'm having a hard time paying my bills. Let me try and see if I can refinance my house to get some money out of it to just get by. And at that point is when I got my true education with credit, when the bank said, no, we can't, your credit's bad, you've been paying some things late, we can't help you. So I heard about credit repair. I didn't think that it was real. And then I did some research, and I did most of my research actually on the Federal Trade Commission's website to see that this was an industry that was regulated, that our creditors are regulated with the information that they report. The credit bureaus are also regulated with how they have to be accurate in their records. So I cleaned my credit up, and then that's when I started Credit Lab. So came out of my own adversity. And since then, I've taken on many different positions within the local community as far as being a small business consultant and just continuing to grow my company. Just some other things about me there. 100%. So we're going to talk about, before I even get into this, I just kind of want to do a little poll, a little test here, because Entrepreneur Magazine says that 90% of business owners know nothing about business credit. So this is an Andrew Jackson.
I'll take it.
No, you can't play. You're out. Okay, so when it comes to business credit, just a couple quizzes here. How many, and it's two-part questions, how many business credit reporting agencies are there, and what are their names? Business. Okay. Okay, so there's, Dun & Brad.
Experience at Dun & Bradstreet.
Almost. Any more takers? Because I'll put this right back in my pocket. Credit reporting agencies that report business credit. Okay. Well, there are three. So Dun & Bradstreet is the major player. The other two. Oh, all right, Angel. Come on. All right, get this 20.
Sierk finally answered you, right?
There's that. Come on. Well, we already had two. Which ones were said? It was.
I wanted a second to think, see if I can come up with it.
Ah.
Is it like that?
Nope. Nope. Okay, so the three major business credit reporting agencies, Dun & Bradstreet is number one, Equifax and Experian. They both have business departments, so I'm sure that you need to answer all three. Okay, well, this 20 is mine.
Remember the ground rules. You got to speak up.
Yeah. Okay, but I've got another one. Another two-part question. Nope. Please, somebody take this money. All right, so we know that Dun & Bradstreet is one of the major players when it comes to business credit reporting. Now, each one has their own different scoring model, but D&B is the main one. What is the name of their business credit scoring system? And what are the scoring ranges? You know how personal credit, with FICO, we have 300 to 850. What are the credit scoring ranges for Dun & Bradstreet's scoring system, and what is the name of it?
It goes up to 100 points.
Okay, what's the name of the score?
A Dunn's number.
No, not on that one. I know it's 100 is the highest.
It's APAC.
A Dunn's number? Is that
Nope. All right, see. Nope, okay. It's called the Paydex score, and it does range from 0 to 100. So almost, some of you guys were almost there, so. Man, I get to keep my 40. Right on, all right. Okay, so I've added business credit a few years back because I was just seeing a big need in the area, and it's something that would have saved me years ago when I first started getting into the real estate industry. I see lots of horror stories where business credit saves. You know, for me, my situation was in the early 2000s when I was got my first properties. I was married at the time, and we totally gutted them, running up the personal credit, ended up separating. So I'm left with, just two properties that are ripped apart and just maxed out credit. So business credit could have definitely saved me. But business credit is credit that is based on the company's EIN and not your social. And it's a beautiful thing because it's separate. And it gives you that legal separation. And entrepreneurs' business credit scores and personal scores are very different, as we just kind of figured out right here, 0 to 100, 300 to 850. And they all have different factors. So some of the advantages of business credit is that when you have a strong personal credit profile and you have a business credit profile, you can have two accounts with the same vendor. So if you were going to go to Home Depot and get a personal credit card at Home Depot, you cannot go and get another personal credit card. But if you have business credit, you can have a personal line of credit at Home Depot as well as a business revolving card. And business credit scores are very simple. It's what I love about the Paydex score. It is based solely on how you pay your bills. Do you pay early? Do you pay late? How many days beyond terms are you? That's how it's rated, 100%. Like, utilization is not a factor. On the personal side, utilization makes up 30% of your credit score. So you start maxing out your cards, even if you're paying them on time, your score is tanking. So, once again, the personal scores depend on those 5 factors of FICO, which is payment history, utilization, credit history, mix of credit, and inquiries. And the thing about business credit, it doesn't not happen automatically. It's almost like building a house and you're starting with the foundation. Everybody starts off with nothing. And and throughout the process, I'll give you, my website, there it is, that you can go onto my resources and download a free version of NAV and see if you have business credit, if your business is even on there. So the plus about business credit is that you can build it really fast. Now, I've been in the personal credit arena for more than 15 years. The amount of lines of credit and things that I can help a client accomplish on the business side in 6 months takes years on the personal end. And the reason for is that big businesses have a greater appetite for credit, and the government knows this. SBA reports that businesses generally have credit lines that are anywhere between 10 and 100 times larger than personal lines. One of the major things about getting business credit started is making sure that you have the right foundation. I've seen a lot of people over the years do it wrong, and the foundation is key. And it's not something you can skip steps. You have to follow each step the right way, or you could really create some issues for yourself. Once again, we are all at the bottom. The foundation, when it's time, when we start to build business credit. But I know the steps. Okay, so fundability. One of the major things that I work with all my clients when we're starting new LLCs or if they're coming in as existing, to make sure that we have the fundability factors in place, because all of this stuff matters. Most people just have their documents that are not congruent, and things need to be on the same page. Entities matter, so the type of entity that you have. So you know that if you are a sole proprietor, you do not have that legal separation. When it comes to the government, you and your business are the same. Another thing that really matters as far as fundability with businesses is the type of phone number that you use. See, the credit bureaus, in the background, they have all their other sources of information that they're looking into on you. So you could, have your cell phone on your truck, but in the business scoring model, you're getting dinged for that in the background because they know that it's a cell phone. You want to have, there are many services that are out there now where you can actually get legitimate business phone numbers like Vonage and voice over internet lines that still ring to your phone, but they're legitimate numbers that could be registered with certain services that a business would be identified through, like 411. Fax numbers. They're not mandatory, but they do help as far as looking more legitimate. And the thing is going through these processes just before you would even start applying for credit to make sure that this information is there. Once again, I mentioned that 411 directory. You want to make sure that you have a legitimate business phone number so that when companies and banks go to find you, that you are listed as a business. When you're building business credit, it's called corporate credit. So you want to think about any successful corporation. How are they doing business? So they have a legitimate address. The thing about the address is that now we have many different places like Regis, and I'm not sure if the Candy Factory is considered a virtual address, so that would be a legitimate source. One thing that you do not want to do as far as your business is use a post office box, and the absolute last thing that you want to do is use your home address. Another thing as far as fundability that you need to have in place is the type of licenses that are required in your field. They will look into this. So now if you're an electrician and you need to be certified or licensed in the city and town that you're working in, you want to make sure that you have that in place. And this is the one that I cannot stress enough, is congruency in your records. I just recently, a few years ago, moved into a new office space. So I made sure that I got with the IRS right away and updated the address. I got with the Secretary of State to make sure that I updated the address there so that everything was congruent. Another thing is your website and email. Have a little one-page informational website. This validates who you are. And email should be your name or service@yourcompany.com, not at Gmail. That's another thing that does not look professional when it comes to building corporate credit. Business bank accounts. Have a business bank account. What a lot of people don't realize in the background when it comes to business credit and the whole process in the background is that they really score you by the date that your business bank account was open. So I get people that call me all the time asking me about shelf corporations and things that have age on them. But in the business credit world, that doesn't matter. That age is going to start from when that business bank account was opened. Having these numbers in place, like your EIN, your DUNS, and your business information number. Working with the IRS, business entities matter, for taxes, for liability in the event of a lawsuit. So if you're a sole proprietor, the liability, the taxes are all on you. And being a sole proprietor, you have a 1 in 7 chance of being audited versus being an LLC or incorporated 1 in 50. So I'd like to stay on the 1 in 50 side. So why not take the chance to separate yourself and get yourself set up right and reduce some of the effects that, being a sole proprietor can have on you. So one of the first things to do, once all of those things that I mentioned in the fundability that you have correct, do not go to Dun & Bradstreet until your documents from the IRS and the documents from the State Department are all correct, until you have that Gmail account set up, until you have like a Grasshopper line. That's a cheap one that is legitimate. Regis is another virtual office space. Have those things set up before you even get to this point. You want to know before you go. And all of those steps in place will get you prepared to qualify before you even apply. So have everything in line, get your DUNS number. They will try and upsell you, deny it. You just want the free number, and it's 100% free. The thing is, if you don't have a DUNS number, you will never really be able to build business credit, so that's a must.
Hold on a second, Michelle.
Sure.
Chad, revenue opportunity.
Amen.
If you have an official business address here at the Hive, you can have a bunch of people be members of the Hive to get an official address instead of a UPS store or...
A UPS store is flagged. You cannot use that.
Right. So I got postal connection.
Yeah.
Right? And that's something that isn't going to fly for me.
No, they get flagged. I mean, there's so much technology. These companies, they know what's real and what's not. So that would be great to have like a set of mailboxes or something here at the Hive, or just having little suite numbers, 101, 102, 103. That would just be a great opportunity. There are many businesses that need this type of service.
Yeah,
And
do that now.
okay.
I would say of all our members, I bet 25% of them, their biggest driver is having an actual address. I think the other thing you haven't mentioned is also just legitimacy.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the tax side, there's the credit side, but there's also
Right.
the, hey, I'm a real company, this is my
Exactly.
address, even if I'm kind of fake till you make it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. And sometimes that's what you have to do. And when a person's just getting on their feet, just being able to have a virtual address really it could help them just look better to even get better jobs and deals.
No, not fake until you make it. Acting as if.
There you go. We call it claiming it.
Words matter.
Exactly. So Dun & Bradstreet's DUNS number is your first step, major step. And this is that breakdown for the D&B Paydex score. This is how, the 0 to 100 based solely on how the business pays its bills. So you can look to see how you would be scored. You know, of course, we want to be here, the top two. You want to kind of stay away from there. So anything really seen under like a 78 is, you know, can make it a little bit more challenging to get some credit lines. Right. All right, so with building credit with that foundation, which was all the fundability factors, now mind you, there is more to that. I mean, I listed the main factors that you can definitely get started with, but when it comes to getting more loans and lines and unsecured, larger like commercial accounts and things like that, you will, there's like another 120 factors that need to be in order. And I always recommend to my business clients that they, you know, make sure that your personal credit, you're working on that as well while you're building business credit simultaneously. Because sometimes, you know, there are things that you are going to need to leave a personal guarantee for. Or if the business is really, really looking good, you can get away with not having to do that. It just depends. Everyone's situation is a little different. Okay, so one of the best ways to get started is with vendor credit and trade credit. So these are basically companies that will allow you to have accounts and give you terms. They'll give you net 30 terms, and you can get things that you need for your existing company. I'm going to go over the criteria for a few of them here. I'm not going to give you the full list because the list is constantly changing. I have a credit suite program that we're constantly updating. You know, we help our clients get even unsecured cash credit for their business, but once again, initially, if we're doing that right from the start, the credit, personal credit is going to need to be good. But if the business credit is strong, we have other resources that are no PG, but those banks are changing all the time. So it could be a small bank in California that's offering this for a moment that we are jumping on that, and then we're always finding new sources because a lot of the major ones like Capital One's, Chase, they're almost always going to want a personal guarantee. Okay, so not every vendor can help. And even finding the right vendor that you're going to purchase products from, you need something that's going to be reporting to the big three. And it's just like, you know, a person that's paying their cell phone every month on a personal level. It's not helping them with their personal credit. So you need to have your ladder parked along the right wall. So Uline shipping is one of the easiest ones to get, and that's always one of the starters that we have our clients get with. Oops, let's go back here. So once again, fundability factors are in place. Go online to Uline. They're going to ask business information, and one thing you must always remember is just don't put your social on these applications because sometimes they will ask, but you don't have to put it on there. If you put the social on there, they will run it, and you will be leaving a personal guarantee. This one reports to Dun & Bradstreet. So you must have a DUNS number to apply with them. They may ask for 2 references. I haven't seen them ask for that much lately, but you will need to have a business bank account. Some people, and it's very rare, if you're just starting up, maybe a few months old, they might say, hey, you need to make a couple of orders, pay the bill, and then we'll give you net 30 terms. Yeah, I mean, I've had clients that have bought like cases of toilet paper. I'm just like, what are you going to do with all that? But hey. Quill Office Supplies is another true starter vendor. So you can get everything that you need to run your office there. I mean, paper, ink, printers, break room supplies, all of that good stuff. Now, you get a double bonus with Quill because they report to Dun & Bradstreet and Experience. So you get 2 payment experiences with them every time you make a purchase and pay your bill early or on time.
And this is just to start out.
This is just to start.
You don't have to keep buying cases.
No, this would be the equivalent on the personal end, starting off with a $300 credit limit to get built. We're building that still on that foundation. So we have the foundation, and you're just coming up to the first floor. But there are 6 tiers to building to business credit. So this is definitely the abridged version. Okay, so once again, we don't even want to go there unless the DMB score is established. And once again, you can visit my website. There's a free ebook on there that gives you even more vendors that you can add. But these are, once again, just the basics. Granger is another good one to get going with. They report to D&B. You can get a lot of your construction tools and things like that from there. What they require to make sure you have your business license in place, your EIN, and you'll need to have a DUNS number. They almost approve just about anyone that fits this criteria, and the information is, business information is congruent.
Think Christmas presents for contractors. Right?
I know, yeah.
You want them done well and on time? Give presents.
Exactly, exactly. So there are many, when it comes to vendors that actually report, there's only 7 out of 100 business vendors that actually report to the Business Credit Bureau. So if you only have 10 accounts, there's a really great chance that you have no one that's reporting. So not that it's horrible to have accounts that don't report, because sometimes they do make our lives easier when it comes to having cell phone service and things like that, but not all these guys report. But they're also non-PG accounts as well. So. And once again, when some of the creditors, as you grow the business, they start asking for trade references, you can reach out to these guys and get those. Okay, so when you start getting into some higher tiers, once there are 5 of those core net 30-day vendors that are reporting on your file, then you can move to more revolving store card type accounts. And that would be like your Staples, Office Depot, Home Depot, which I know many of you that are doing like flips, having large lines at Home Depot would definitely be helpful. And the beauty about the business trade lines is that, utilization for one is not a factor. When you apply, it's not going on your personal credit, there's no inquiry, and that business lines are much higher. The average business line for Home Depot with somebody getting started and has taken the time to build their business credit the right way could be $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. And if you have one at Home Depot and one at Lowe's, you can get a lot of your things done just going right there, all through your company. And these companies, and I have a different strategy, and things change all the time when I'm recommending people to, that it's time to go and apply at Home Depot. Sometimes I'll have them download the application and fax it in, because if you just go online and try and apply, they won't let you pass through without putting the social. So there's always different ways that we have to look at applying at these companies to make sure that the social is not on there. Oh yeah.
If you put it there, they'll use it.
You bet, yeah, you better believe it. All right, so Lowe's, another great revolving to have. They want to see DUNS, and they want to see that you have a PAYDEX score of at least 78. So if you're not there, don't even apply. They report to all 3 business credit bureaus, so that's good. So one purchase gets you 3 payment experiences, and you want those payment experiences. The more, the better. Fleet credit, and this is another great one. I have a client that's a truck driver. Well, he's not a truck driver. He owns a couple dump trucks, and when he first got started, he was using a lot of his own personal credit. He told me that he had a business credit card, but it was personally guaranteed. So, but he was using this business credit card to buy the gas for the dump truck. So we were able to get him Speedway accounts, one for each truck. So now it's still a 30-day terms for him, but he's able to buy the gas for his trucks at any WEX or anywhere, that he wants to go with that particular card. I personally use the Speedway business card as well. And they give you 5 to 10 times what your usage is. So I was like, I'm like a small shop, and I recommend, I just give me a few thousand, and I got it. So I know, give my family free tanks of gas for Christmas. Christmas, you get gas. All right, so Shell is another one, Here are the requirements. They want to see that you have a 411 business phone listing, so that's where not using your cell phone for business is very important. And sometimes they might want to see, how long you've been in business or your revenue. And they report to Dun & Bradstreet and make business experience. And then cash credit. This is the, this is the one that's always moving. And with my company, I have what's called a credit suite that is a do-it-yourself business credit building program, so that you're learning along the way. But what that allows you to have access to is that things are constantly updating. Like I said, we might have a Navy Federal that is allowing non-PG cash credit cards. That might change, and then we have to switch different banks, but you'll always be up to speed on that. But once again, we want to keep your social security number off these applications. Another one is a fuel man, 78 PAYDEX score. They want at least 10 trade lines reporting, and they want to see at least one 10,000 high limit credit limit. And that's the thing with the business credit lines, the limits are high. They are really high. Like, I just felt like At the end of the year, I was like, I'm getting myself new computers for Christmas at the office because I had them for a few years and I just wanted to upgrade and get more of a business class computer. And I went online to Dell, and once again, Dell has business credit. And I applied, and right away, $10,000 line, I was able to get really nice computers. I'm not going to use all that $10,000, but it was just incredible. It was all on Credit Lab. My social did not go on that app. It's all building my business credit. So it's what Fuel Man's going to want to see and where they report. And then more revolving. All of these companies have revolving lines of credit. Many of my clients, I help them get, Amazon has a business net 30. That's a starter, so that's the first way that we start. And then they upgrade to the net 55. And then from there, Amazon is teamed with American Express, and then they have a revolving. So you have to, with them, work your way up to that. I have a client that has a hair salon, and she makes decent money, and we've helped her build her business credit. She's got a gracious line at Amazon, so now she's able to get what she needs from Amazon, and she's flipping and selling hair and eyelashes and even, adding on services with her existing business.
How many people are buying any types of materials for their renovations off of Amazon?
Oh, wow. That's interesting. See, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. You can get some of those unique, lightings,
that's true, yeah.
fixtures, etc. off of Amazon. But you've got to build to this point, right? And that's why it's a journey, and that's why you're here.
Yep.
The cabinet door handles and stuff are a lot cheaper on there.
Yeah,
Wow.
Build.com, you can.
Interesting.
Still, Amazon wins in many, many cases.
Oh, yeah.
So
But
you got
once
Home Depot, Lowe's, Amazon,
Walmart,
and even Walmart.
Sam's Club has a MasterCard that many people are finding to get very easy with no PG. I don't have a Sam's Club membership, but I'm like, I need to go over to York and get, a Sam's Club business membership and then get the MasterCard. No PG at Sam's Club. You want to go into the business desk. So we have different things that we recommend for the businesses to do. But, once again, when you do things online, you might not be able to move to the next page unless you put the social. But when we go to the counter, there are other ways to go about for the business, building the business credit. So with Sam's Club, you got to go inside to apply.
Does Costco fall into that arena?
Not that I know at the moment. No, nope. Okay, so the next thing is to monitor your business credit and to know what's going on. As somebody had mentioned NAV. So NAV is basically a credit monitoring program that is kind of like the Credit Karma of business credit. But it's really neat because once you get built up, you can start monitoring what's going on. You get alerts letting you know if your credit limits have increased, if your business credit scores have changed, if you have a late payment predictor on there. So you definitely want to monitor your business credit. And once you go into NAV and claim your business, if you would see that you had any information in there and there were errors, they need to be addressed as soon as possible. When it comes to personal credit, I'm sure that everyone in here has applied for something personally and we've gotten that denial letter. And when it comes to business credit, you can apply for something and they can deny you and they don't have to tell you anything by law. We don't have the same protections in the business world as consumers do with the Fair Credit Reporting Act and all these different acts that are protecting. So yeah, we just don't have that business. They don't have to tell you anything. Their number one thing in the background is that they're looking for fraud, and that's why I expressed that congruency was the number one thing. So if you've got, filing an application and your address is listed here, that's going to throw up a flag, and they could just easily deny you. You'll never know what's going on, or because they don't have to tell you. So once you have NAV installed, you want to get in the habit of checking your credit reports and digging into the details, not just the scores. I know consumers are really score-driven, and with me being in the credit arena, I'm always dealing with that. But once again, I think it's all about the details. So if you go to my website, whenever you have time, not now, and I couldn't get this off. Should have sent Chuck a text. But anyway, go to my website, creditlab.com. There's a resources tab. And on there, you'll see some business credit resources. Click on the NAV app link and see if you exist. Okay, so business credit really pays off. It can really help a company secure funding. Lenders have a good picture that they know that businesses can pay their debts. If you'd ever get into SBA loans or things like that, they do pull business credit, so you want to make sure that you have those things in order. The lenders know that your business is credible, and having an EIN is the one thing that prepares you to build high scores. And the better you look, lenders won't need to demand a personal guarantee. All right, so just to recap, legitimacy, making sure all of your records are congruent. The IRS and Dun & Bradstreet need to have your business on their radar. You want to start small and build. Starter vendors helps you to get to the next level, and you cannot skip steps. When you're building a house, you can't build the foundation and then build the third floor. You can't start with the roof. So you really need to build your way up. And build credit with companies that report. Ask non-reporting for trade references. Then once you get to a decent point there, move on to fleet, and then you'll move on to cash. Keep your social security number off of applications. Like I said, many times you'll need to print out applications, download them, call the credit department, ask for a fax number, send it in that way. Doing things online, you're going to get jammed with having to put your social on there. Monitor, be on top of errors, always use credit responsibly, pay on time and in full will do more for your scores than anything else. And thank you. Any questions?
Questions for Michelle?
Why is it easier to obtain business credit versus personal credit?
Well, just the scoring system. It's, it's based on the business's ability to pay. So it's, credit FICO scoring has so many factors. Just is. Businesses are the driving force of our economy too.
Do you recommend like a C Corp or S Corp over an LLC since it's reported as the same, like a single member LLC? Is that not advisable for business credit?
Sole member LLCs are fine, just as much as a C Corp or an S Corp. I've seen it all the way across the board. I mean, that's a separate entity. Where it's not going to work is the sole proprietorship. So, I mean, your entity should be based on what your needs are for your company, but those are corporations. And, and the LLC is more of a hybrid, but you still get those benefits.
Yeah, I don't know that any CPA would recommend entity structuring with a priority on business credit over tax
Exactly.
advantages. So, when you're going to set up your entity and set it up the right way,
right.
talk to the right.
Exactly. Yeah, because everyone's needs are different, so. Any other questions? Okay.
So pretty much you were showing the score was based on paying earlier on time. So
Correct.
if you paid on time, you should have at least an 80 all the time.
Yep, absolutely. And, and it's just beautiful that all those other factors that we have on the personal side are just not factors. And I think it's beautiful, for business owners. We should just be rated on how we pay our bills.
So to be on that 80 side, I mean, just pay on time.
Pay on time.
How early do you need to be early?
Well, I've
10 days, 5 days, or?
sometimes even 2 weeks. As soon as the invoice comes, get it out. You want to really get to that 100.
For me, like cash is king, and I usually pay all the due dates. So.
Okay.
Then you can expect an 80.
Yep.
They set the system up in a way that it's, okay, if I perform this way, you know what to expect.
Exactly. Your vendors want paid. That's just, you're going to pay me early, later on time,
Let's roll. Yeah.
Okay, I know you had a question in the back.
So there's a lot of businesses that start out as sole props.
Mm-hmm.
They have trade accounts. Can they merge it into getting the business, or is it like starting all over once they become an
No, because the sole proprietor is not just a separate entity. So you would need to, once you would move on to create like an LLC or whatever business entity you would create, you'd get a totally new EIN. So it would be based on that business, the new legal structure. Yeah, so sole proprietors, it just doesn't count.
So you have the credit.
and things get screwed up, how long does it take to recorrect when you have, when your score goes from a 90 down to a 60?
It's going to be based on averages. You could bounce your score back in just a few months. It's not as horrible, as hard as personal credit. Yeah, personal credit is a long road to repair. Yeah, and and that's just the beautiful thing about it. It can bounce back really quick.
First of all, thank you for this presentation. I feel like people that I have met have paid a lot of money for something like this. And you're providing it free of charge here.
You're welcome.
I wanted to ask you, as far as like the NAV, I see that they have like some letters. Do those letters like A through F, like, I'm not sure.
Those are your grades. So they give you grades until you start really building. Then you'll have like scores. But usually, when you're first getting started, you'll A. They're all risk letters. So A through F, failing. Yeah.
So like A will be 90 to 100, B 80 to.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome. Any more questions? Okay. Well, thanks everyone.
All right, let's put our hands together.
All right.
There you go, young lady.
All righty. Now we'll get some beer.
Get some beer. So we don't have that much longer for tonight, but please do stick around. Make sure that, if anybody walks out of here without having met somebody new, shame on you, right? Because that's what we're here for. Everybody here all wants to win. And I can guarantee you that winning is going to happen by connecting with other like-minded people that are right here in Lancaster, in Central PA. There's other lenders here in the crowd. There's a whole bunch of, how many people want to buy a property? Yeah, there's a whole bunch of people that, and we had all these folks stand up here that have deals as opportunities. So please take the time, reach out to Ben, reach out to, I think Ilya had to leave, but talk to these folks. Understand, get a better perspective of what these deals are. Now for next month, we have a real good deal for you. We have, I hope it didn't go twice. Okay, no, it didn't. We have Mr. Matt Faircloth. How many people know or have heard the name Matt Faircloth? Right? So he's written a couple articles, I think 157 or so for Bigger Pockets. Anybody on Bigger Pockets? So he's doing multifamily deals. He's the real deal. He's out of Trenton, New Jersey. He's coming here on March 19th. How many people are college basketball fans? All right, y'all are gonna have to hit DVR because that's the first night of the Sweet Six, or the, not Sweet 16. I don't follow the game, right? It's March Madness. Right? That's the way I think about it. But anyway, I'd rather DVR March Madness from 7 until 9 on Thursday night, so you can be here, and then you can go back, take off work on Friday if you're still working. But he's going to be here. He's going to share. We haven't nailed down exactly what his presentation is going to be, but no matter what he brings, it's going to be fire. So you need to be here, and those people that you know that are investing in real estate or considering investing in real estate, do them a favor and invite them along. Because Matt's one of the speakers at the conference, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll just give 30 seconds. So I think Matt probably owns 500,000 units.
Yeah.
But what makes him, I think, I consider him a close friend. He's an amazing human being. He will stay here until late at night talking to anyone who wants to talk to him. He's made a huge impact on my life personally. He's taught me a ton. If you told me to pay $200 to get in here and that, I'd pay. We're only going to charge $199 next time. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's got to be a 7, right? 197, right?
So I just, this is my, I think you gotta be here. If you have any interest in being in real estate, you start from the ground up, you didn't come from a real estate family. I think he's done this like 8 or 9 years. Wrote the book on raising private capital, so if you have any interest in raising money in your life, that's done a lot of that. And he's actually targeted Lancaster as a market. He targets like 3 markets in the whole country. Lancaster is one of those 3. And in a year, it'll be like, we'll probably have like 300 units here in Lancaster. So I'm just get someone from New Jersey who invests all over the country, started in Lancaster. Really good guy.
So he knows this market, right? He's going to be able to talk to exactly what we're living in our real estate investing journey. He's been there, he's done it, probably 10 times or more over than many of us in the room. So come and join us March 19th. We thought about bumping it to Wednesday. One of those March Madness fans, I think he just walked out, was trying to get us to move it from Thursday to Wednesday night, so we would avoid that, but Matt wasn't available. Sorry. So we'll be here third Thursday every single month. Thank you very much for coming. You don't have to leave now. It's time to network. Thank you again. For Michelle.
I want to say something real quick. If that's
okay.
Yes.
Hold on just a second.
So Chuck doesn't know anything of this, but you work really hard with REIMG. I hope we brought a lot of value to you. If you would do us a beautiful favor and go onto our Facebook group with REIMG and kind of give us a little review testimonial, we definitely want to grow this group. And yeah, that's all I want to ask. Thank you.
So on Facebook, just search for Real Estate Investing Mastermind Group of Lancaster. It's a whole lot of characters you got to type out. But if you could, thank you, Janet. Yes, please, if it was worth your while coming out tonight, which I know it was, thanks to Paul, Josh, and Michelle. Thank you very much. Be safe on your way home.
Tune in next time to the Central Pennsylvania Real Estate Investors Meetup podcast, keeping you up to date with what is happening in the York, Lancaster, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania real estate markets.